This is not a video about information. This is a confrontation with a pattern, one that many people are living inside right now without realizing it. Because there are people, perhaps including you, who are not living new lives, but repeating the same emotional script again and again, under different names, different faces, different circumstances, and they cannot understand why. This talk is especially for those in midlife, late 30s, 40s, and 50s. Not because something is wrong with this stage of life, but because this is the stage where something becomes undeniable. The mask begins to fall. When you are younger, you can hide behind energy, appearance, opportunity, social momentum. You can outpace your problems. But in midlife, you no longer outrun your patterns. You meet them directly. And at that moment, a question becomes unavoidable. Why do I keep making the same choices? Why do relationships change, but outcomes don't? Why does the excitement return, but fulfillment never stays? Why does pleasure repeat, but meaning never arrives? There is an ancient teaching that captures this with unsettling precision. Even after death, the human mind follows the illusions it has become accustomed to. Now, whether or not you believe in an afterlife is irrelevant, because psychologically this is already happening right now. You are not simply living your life. You are following familiar emotional patterns. Modern psychology would describe this differently. Neural reward circuits, dopamine-driven behavioral loops, compulsive reinforcement patterns. But the conclusion is identical. Once a pattern is formed, it does not disappear through willpower alone. And here is where most people misunderstand the problem. They think this is about morality, or discipline, or personal weakness. It is not. It is structural. Take compulsive sexual behavior, for example. At the surface, it appears to be about desire, but at a deeper level, it is rarely about sex. It is about avoiding loneliness, escaping emotional emptiness, seeking validation of one's existence. This is not indulgence. It is regulation, a way of managing internal discomfort. And here is the critical insight. This structure does not fade with age. It evolves. It adapts. It becomes more sophisticated, and in many cases more destructive. So what happens in midlife? Why do these patterns intensify rather than disappear? Let's break this down into 4 structural shifts. 1. The body weakens, but the pattern remains. In youth, the body can sustain high stimulation. Late nights, multiple relationships, emotional volatility. You recover quickly. But after 40, something changes. The body begins to resist. Fatigue accumulates. Health becomes a constraint. Yet the brain, the reward system, still demands the same level of stimulation. So now you have a conflict, a body that cannot keep up, and a mind that refuses to let go. This creates tension, and that tension often leads to relapse into familiar behaviors. 2. The desire for stability emerges, but the pattern rejects it. As people age, they naturally begin to crave stability, emotional safety, consistency, long-term connection. But here's the paradox. If your relational pattern was built on stimulation, you may only feel attraction toward instability. You may want peace, but feel alive only in chaos. This is what psychology calls a dopamine-conditioned attraction pattern. You don't choose what is good for you. You choose what feels familiar. 3. Economic reality begins to matter. In youth, people prioritize experience, excitement over security, intensity over stability. But in midlife, reality arrives. Financial planning, aging, long-term survival. And if your life has been structured around short-term stimulation, you may find yourself unprepared. Relationships become unstable, planning becomes difficult, and anxiety increases. 4. Loneliness intensifies. This is perhaps the most painful shift. In youth, there are always people around, but many of those relationships are stimulation-based, not stable. They don't last. So by midlife, many individuals find themselves surrounded by memories, but lacking true emotional anchors. And in that loneliness, they return to what they know, stimulation. But stimulation does not solve loneliness. It amplifies it. So what we are observing is not random failure. It is a system, a repeating loop. Desire, satisfaction, emptiness, stronger desire. And unless that loop is understood, it will continue indefinitely. Now let's address a critical misconception. Marriage will fix it. It will not, because marriage does not change internal structure. It only reveals it. Research in behavioral addiction shows that without intervention, 60–70% continue the same patterns after marriage. 20–30% reduce frequency but maintain underlying behavior. Only a small minority achieve genuine stability. Why? Because addiction is not environmental. It is neurological and psychological. And this leads to another uncomfortable truth. People do not choose partners randomly. They choose partners who match their internal structure. This often results in predictable pairings. The lonely individual seeking emotional rescue. The controlling partner seeking dominance. The stability-focused partner seeking structure. These are not coincidences. They are psychological alignments. So what is the real issue here? It is not sex. It is not relationships. It is repetition. Every human being repeats something. Some repeat relationships. Some repeat failure. Some repeat emotional pain. Not because they want to, but because their internal pattern has not changed. So the most important question is not, who should I be with? It is, what am I repeating? Because here is the final truth. You can change your partner. You can change your environment. You can even change your lifestyle. But if you do not change your internal structure, your life will reorganize itself back into the same pattern. This lecture is not meant to judge. It is meant to reveal. Because the moment you see the pattern clearly, you are no longer fully controlled by it. And that is where change begins. If you want to continue exploring the deeper structure of human desire, addiction, and relational psychology, subscribe, like, and share this video. Because these are not just ideas. They are frameworks that can change how you see your life. Let me leave you with one sentence. Your life does not change when your relationships change. It changes when the structure of your desire changes. In the next lecture, we will go even deeper. Why these patterns often intensify in your 50s, why they become impossible to hide, and why many relationships collapse at that stage. If you want to understand the full system, you need to see what comes next. Thank you.